Welcome to Planet MicroCap. I'm your host, Robert Kraft, and joining me today is Kyle Floyd. He's the CEO and chairman of Vox Royalty. It's a publicly traded company. I got two symbols for you: VOX on the TSX Venture and VOXCF on the OTCQX. And Vox Royalty will be presenting at the upcoming Precious Metal Summit Beaver Creek, happening September 13th through 16th, 2022. For more information, please go to precioussummit.com. And with that, Kyle, good to see you, man. How you doing?
Bobby, likewise. It's been a really productive year for us, so good to be back with you.
Awesome. Look forward to hearing all about it. But first, before we get in that update, can you provide our audience with that quick overview of the company, and then we'll go from there?
Absolutely. So Vox Royalty Corp, we're a specialist buyer of third-party royalties. So we focus on buying royalty interests, which means typically an interest in revenue. So not bottom line profits, but top line revenue across great mining projects all around the world, focused on value and returns for our investors. And we've been the fastest growing royalty company in all respects over the last 3 years.
Very good. All right. So last time we did an interview together, I published that on August 17, 2021. Let's hear about some of those updates, that highlights, let it rip.
Well, I'll start with really what I believe are some of the most important characteristics of royalty companies. Number one, we have grown our value in all key metrics well beyond any of that of our peer co's. So we have grown net asset value per share more significantly than anyone else. We have grown revenue per share more significantly than anyone else. And I think the metric that really is mattering most for royalty companies, or should matter most for royalty companies, is what is that return on invested capital? And we are blowing away the rest of the industry in terms of the growth of all those three metrics and our ability to find great value and maximizing the dollars of our investors and having that translate into the success that's demonstrated with our revenue growth and ultimately the cash flow per share that we'll be generating.
Absolutely. So what would you say are some of the reasonings for some of these success metrics that you just mentioned?
Well, for some of those that aren't as familiar with Vox Royalty Corp, we have certain competitive advantages. And one of those big competitive advantages is our intellectual property and our technical team. So when you combine those two elements of our business, it's allowing us to find better value on better projects. And that's translating into better returns for our investors than what the industry is generating. And so that in tangible form is that we have been growing our revenue and maximizing a revenue per share, a cash flow per share number with less dollars out that really blows away the rest of our competition when you actually are looking at tangible data on royalty companies and what they're generating for their shareholders. Within our peer group, you're seeing very, very low returns on invested capital, and we are generating very high returns on invested capital. And that is a byproduct of our intellectual property and our technical team and our competitive advantages that we bring to the table for our investors every day.
For sure. Well, let's get into that IP, because clearly it's the IP that's driving the revenue growth. So what projects or what streams or royalties in particular would you say have been more successful than the others, or the reasons for some of these metrics?
Well, a flashback to 2020, we went public in May, but we had been around for 6+ years at that point as a royalty company. And we have been buying royalties 2 to 3 years out from production pretty consistently. And with our technical team, really understand these royalties were going to come into production. They're going to be quality assets. And so really finding that value arbitrage pre-production. And that was underpinned by our intellectual property in the form of a proprietary database purchased from MRO for $2.1 million that gave us the groundwork to understand where these royalties were outside of competitive forces. And so flashback to that 2020 time period, we were really pre-revenue. We said revenue's coming, we've bought really good assets, and now that's really showcasing. And so we had 1 producing asset at that point. We now have 6 producing assets. We expect that number to grow to double digits as we exit 2023. And so we've really well positioned the business and our shareholders for exceptional growth over the coming years. We've been the fastest growing company in all material respects that we touched on at the beginning of the interview, which is revenue per share, NAV per share, and ultimately return on invested capital.
With that, where can our audience go find more information on Vox?
VoxRoyalty.com is a great place to start. We're, of course, on all the normal social media channels, and then ir@VoxRoyalty.com for any specific questions. Always happy to jump on there and interact with any investors or prospective investors.
Very good. All right. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Good luck. Stay safe. I'll see you in Beaver Creek.
Thanks, Bobby. Sounds great.
Thank you. Again, Vox Royalty will be presenting at the upcoming Precious Metal Summit Beaver Creek, happening September 13th through 16th, 2022. For more information, please go to precioussummit.com.